Russillo Show on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Before we get to our weekend preview, getting back into Game 4 NBA Finals tonight, it's going to tip at 9 Eastern on ABC, 8 coverage right here on ESPN Radio. Am I supposed to care about this Cardinals press conference? I know, Smallman, you could possibly be biased in the importance of what's about to go down. You've been reaching out to your Saint Lunatics. What are we doing? Is there something really happening? Is there actually going to be breaking news in the next hour of the show? That's actually...
I'll let you know as soon as I find out. Pressure should start any second now.
Wow, that sounds like she knows and she's not telling us what's going on.
I think if she knew and it were bad, she wouldn't be here. Like, she'd be outside.
Depends on what you think is bad.
Oh, you're not one of those who wants everybody fired,
wow.
Are you?
I just want to win, man.
Livelihoods.
Oh, here we go. Here's kind of the other side of this. If Matheny were fired, I don't know if I got a segment for you.
I don't know if I need one.
Okay.
I don't know if American needs one, but we can acknowledge it.
Again, Game 4 tonight, weekend preview brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. It is the Russillo Show on a Friday with Randy Scott from SportsCenter. We also just finished talking about how much more attractive your wife is than you and how that has bothered you. And
it doesn't bother me. Like, I enjoy the attractiveness. Like, that's something that
Right.
It's a positive.
Yeah, think about the math on that. Wouldn't you rather be way less attractive than your wife?
It's a motivator, too. It's like, all right, do I want to nap or do I need to go bang out like 5 miles? Keep up with the missus.
Which egomaniac would get threatened or annoyed? Like, oh my gosh, my wife is approaching my hotness. I'm going to have to move on. Like, that's a weird one. I'll never understand, like, guys, that you meet a girl and be like, oh, the last guy I did, he used to tell me how ugly I was and that no one would ever date me. I'd be like, well, that must have been fun.
Well, to me, the conversation ends with a girl when she won't stop talking about the last guy she was with. You know what I mean? Like, you don't ever want to have that talk.
I don't know. I think sometimes there's some real clues in there. You dig through them. Be like, I only date loggers. You're the first non-logger I've dated in 6 or 7. The last 4 guys have all been in the logging industry. Be like, this is probably going to be a good fit. So all right, so everything's good on the wife front, the back and forth, because we just got done doing that segment there. Everybody's good.
I don't know. I haven't told her. I'm gonna let her find it on her own, I think, or call her on the way home.
Should
send her a link to the podcast. That's what I'll do.
Tell her to subscribe and review it if you could. Freeze Pops also get in there 3 times.
She could come next time.
Wait a minute.
Freeze Pops isn't even the biggest fan of my wife in radio right now. Like, there is, I think, a Kat, and I'm blanking on Kat's last name, but she's a big fan of my wife in like a more like I tolerate it way than Freeze Pops.
Yeah, she's a bigger fan. I've talked to her about it.
Like, she grew up there and knows her. And
okay, yeah, all right, yeah. Sounds good.
Good times.
All right, Dave McMenamin is going to join us in just about 10 minutes here on the show, and Steve Kerr spoke because there's nobody. If you want to be everyone's hero, be a former NBA player that was on a team that won a title and go, you know what? I don't think we beat these guys because nobody's done it so far. And this is a continuation. It's probably one of the most layup, boring questions, but it feels like everybody has to ask. Steve Kerr answered this, and I could not agree more.
Have you ever actually had the conversation? Would they ever call you up and actually have a conversation about that kind of thing?
No. But they're all right. They would all kill us. The game gets worse as time goes on.
Yeah, it's hard to watch, right?
Players are less talented than they used to be. The guys in the 50s would have destroyed everybody. It's weird how human evolution is sort of like goes in reverse in sports. You know, players get weaker, smaller, less skilled. I can't explain it.
A lot of sarcasm in there. The 50s thing is great as he hammers home the point once more. But wouldn't it be great, though, if Kerr, you knew him and you were friendly with him and you pulled him aside and it's just you and him on the back porch and you go, okay, seriously, though, your Bulls team against this. What do you think he would say?
I think as a player, I think you'd learn a lot about him as to whether he values the oversight on this team or his playing days, because he had such a big role in one of those titles there with the Bulls. So what his honest answer would be, I think he would take his Warriors, because I think that's probably true, and I think he probably feels that way, and he identifies the matchups from a coaching perspective that his Warriors, the matchup problems that they would create with really any team, but specifically the one he was on.
See, that's the one where I wish we could get some real honesty. And unfortunately, he doesn't feel like he can answer that question honestly. He just can't. It'd actually be a great distraction, but really, how much of a distraction do they actually need? So I don't want to keep doing it over and over again, and I don't want to sit there and go, okay, Rashid to go, we'd smash him. Not even Golden State wouldn't even get a game. It makes me less likely to listen to you, even if there's a chance I might have agreed that the Pistons could get him in 7 because the Pistons team was so good defensively. But I just don't know how anybody would deal with all of the shooting. I just don't know. I think it would be such a scary thing if you actually had this happen where the older team would go, I can't believe these guys shoot it the way they shoot it from all over the court. Like
you said last hour, that Pistons team was ahead of its time with regard to switching, right?
They were great. Everybody could switch with everybody else, basically.
And what rules are we playing by? We're playing by the ones that allow you to check, which was pretty much the Pistons' high water mark. Once they changed the rules defensively, allow for more free-flowing, and I don't know how this Warriors team would stack up with that one. I think somebody like a Michael Thompson, not only because he does radio, but because he was on those Showtime Lakers, and now his son Clay is on this team. I've always wanted his take on it, but he falls into that, oh yeah, we'd smash him. Even somebody like that who's close to both those teams can't be unbiased. A la Kerr.
I'm trying to think what it's equal to.
You're so tired of this conversation.
But I'm thinking in my head, and I'm going, okay, how can I make this different, honestly? And I'm going, I don't know that I can, but I'm trying to think, what is this? Would any president go, oof, my 8 years were rough? Or they'd probably sit there and make a ton of excuses. Any president that had a bad run would go, well, wait a minute. I inherited unemployment, this,
Yeah, of course there is.
Real estate went down, had nothing to do with me. These things were set in motion years before I'd even taken office.
I don't think guys who have a rough presidency get 8 years. They don't usually get
I don't know, you
2 terms. I can think of 1 maybe, but I don't. I think there's a pride. There's a pride in what you do, and I think that's a coach, president, however you want to spin it. There's a pride in what you do and how you did it, to where that competitor in you and that creator in you just wants. I don't want to say legacy. I feel like that's almost like Pee-wee's Playhouse in terms of you say that word and it just sets up
legacy update.
Exactly, but I think you want to know that whatever you did is going to be remembered and appreciated moving forward.
If you want to get in touch with us, at Russillo Show, also reminding you, if you're at work, you can stream all 3 hours of the show on ESPNradio.com. This guy had maybe one of the most look-at-me moments on television today, and we may give him a hard time because of it. That's next with Randy Scott at ESPN Radio. Game 4, NBA Finals, Warriors and Cavs, Friday, 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio, 9 Eastern tip on ABC with Randy Scott, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. All of our guests in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including our man who has covered the Cavs as close as anyone from ESPN.com. But we have to start with this, Dave McMenamin. Part of the package you put together for SportsCenter shows you talking about three-point shooting, and I think you look pretty happy to be able to show off your range. Very good touch, and the shot went down. How do you feel about yourself?
I feel great about this question, and great way to start the interview. That was actually 2 years in the making. I did a piece when the Cavs made the finals in 2015. I did a shooting competition with James Jones, and it was the worst edit job in history, human history. I was actually beating him in the shooting competition, but whatever editors back in Bristol got their hands on it, edited it, so the only shots you saw from me were misses, and the only shots from James were makes. And so we've been doing these, up-to-date segments. They want urgency. They want different looks than the regular stand-ups. And so my super producer, Melinda Adams, and I were like, all right, this is the chance to make up for that terrible edit job a couple years ago.
You know what, though, I love about that is that's so true, is that all of us that are on air, there's a tier we're in, and there's the mess with him tier, and then there's 7 guys that are above it. So you knew that was going to happen. If Van Pelt had done that package, it would have just been rainmakers from the corner. And it's Dave McMenamin, it's Russillo, if Greeny, they would have edited and make him look bad because it's just Greeny. But so you played in college, though?
Yeah, I played collegiately at University of Limerick in Ireland. I was also a manager for the Syracuse team. Wasn't quite good enough to make the D1 championship team.
Wait a minute, you played basketball in Limerick?
Yeah.
All 4 years? What was that like?
No. I only played 1 year. So I studied abroad my junior year. And they were allowed to have 2 Americans on the team. So I made the squad. Maybe probably 7 or 8 Americans tried out. So
okay, I
made the squad.
And I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I'm wondering, was it if you tried out for Syracuse, then you had to have been decent enough to not Like there's people that try out and there's people that are delusional. Like is it easy to make a team in Limerick?
It was a lot easier to make it than the team in Syracuse.
Well, that I could have figured out on my own. Like how good or bad was it?
Like D3 competition equivalent.
D3
in the
okay.
States.
So by how many points would that Limerick team beat these Warriors?
Oh, very good.
I like that turn of subject, Randy. No, we were a very good team though. We made the Final Four in Ireland, which is only a 16-team tournament, so we won a couple games. But that was a fun experience.
Made a Final Four run in college. That's all it is.
You have a ring?
Two of them. I got a ring from Syracuse. I was a manager in 2003. We won it all. So I got a ring from that. I got a T-shirt from the Limerick Final Four run.
I hope you still have that T-shirt. All right, we're talking with Dave McMenamin, ESPN.com. Help us understand all the different LeBron things that we're hearing. He's being asked these questions, so I always have to remind myself of that. But some of the answers feel like it's him accepting defeat. Some people would say he's making excuses, or maybe sometimes he's just sitting back and being honest to what he's being asked. How would you describe his tone in comments the last few days?
When he was propping up the Warriors going into the series, I was struggling with is he trying to build them up to inform the public that, hey, this is a really good team, manage your expectations here, except that if the Cavs lose, it's not because we failed, it's because we went up against a team that would beat just about any team in NBA history. Or was he pumping them up to inevitably beat them and then have that championship seem all the more special and powerful than just a normal championship? I think what we're seeing, it is the former. He believed from the very start that they were outmatched. He's seeing it now, and he's being very gracious with the media because he doesn't want this one to fall on his personal list of failures. And, listen, the guy's going to most likely end up being the first guy in NBA Finals history to average triple-double for the series. You cannot point to him and say it was his failing if the Cavs lose in 4 games, 5 games, 6, or 7. This Warriors team is built for destruction, and LeBron's just a victim of it. Listen, when we're comparing greats, it comes with the territory that guys are going to get criticized no matter what. It's winning or bust. But I think he's come with a perspective now saying, listen, this is gravy. He already said earlier in the playoffs that I have nothing left to prove. I'm leaving it out there on the court. If you have a problem with it, that's tough for you because I'm very comfortable with the way I've approached this postseason.
I feel the same way. I feel like a lot of what we construe is Bron being salty with the media. Do you think you're a smart guy and all that? I mean, that was pretty salty. But what we think is salty is more a guy who's just comfortable with what he accomplished, what he did a year ago, and what he understands he's going up against. So I guess how at peace is he with his own individual performance relative to how the team is playing in this series?
Well, I mean, I think, one, yes, he's certainly comfortable with his decision to pass to Kyle Korver. He's been doing it since he's passing to Damon Jones and Danielle Marshall. This is nothing new. 2, I think the way he embraced passing Michael Jordan in the all-time playoff scoring mark in the Boston series is pretty atypical of the way he has embraced the milestones that he's started to accumulate over the last couple of years. It's always like, I'll look back at that when my career's over, but maybe he saw the Warriors coming down the tunnel and he's like, you know what, this is my moment to be, recognized and to be appreciated for what I continue to do in this game. And I'm going to relish it because there's probably not going to be another moment in the finals. And I think that's okay. We all have to recognize our limitations. I think that's part of, emotional intelligence and that, speaks to people, I think, being, mature in what matters. And it's not like he's cutting corners against this Warriors team. He's giving it his best shot. We watched one of the best finals games of the last 10 years in Game 3. Just didn't go the Cavs' way at the end. And, maybe this is Kevin Durant's time. He joined a 73-win team. He had already lost to LeBron James in the finals 5 years ago. This is just the way things are going to go. And if anybody looks at this final series and says, wow, LeBron James didn't show up, but wow, LeBron James, wow, he really didn't do anything with the talent around him. What a shame. They just don't understand basketball, and they're just trying to hate him just for the sake of hating.
Dave, Something that does bother me, though, about the lead up to this, and I think you understand my position on LeBron. I'm the furthest thing from LeBron hater, but I didn't believe them when he was saying, hey, Golden State's better, we're better. I didn't think Cleveland was better. I thought the East was so much worse. I thought defensively they never proved anything in the regular season, and they didn't prove it getting through those three teams. And so when people are asking for adjustments or, okay, what's wrong with this bench, a bench that people were talking about as being an advantage going into the finals, like, yes, a large part of this is all because of who Golden State is, but did those guys perhaps overrate themselves?
I know you're coming from, Ryan, here, and I think yes, because I bought into it to some extent. Because I'm talking to guys like Kyrie Irving, James Jones, 14-year veteran. They're telling me in the Boston series that this is the best team I've ever played on, and it will probably be the best team I ever play on moving forward. And, James Jones has been on some great teams, and obviously Kyrie is on the championship team. And I'm like, if these guys believe that, that belief can carry them, because I saw the way it carried them in last year's finals. But yeah, I think they were probably talking themselves into it more than it was actual facts. And Darren Williams is a complete no-show, 0 for 11 in the final. Iman Shumpert, while I thought he played some admirable defense on Kevin Durant at times, especially in Game 2, he is not providing any two-way game. He's not scoring. Richard Jefferson has fallen off a cliff in these finals. Unless LeBron and Kyrie play that at that plus level, which you saw in Game 3, but we didn't see out of Kyrie certainly in Games 1 and 2, Cavs don't have a shot. And, Brian Windhorst and I talked to about 30 league executives over the last couple of days and put together a story that's up on ESPN.com right now. And what direction do the Cavs go in? It's kind of a quagmire, because they stay together, they're probably going to get to the fourth straight finals. But it's going to cost them $150 million to do that, to stay together, and they're probably going to lose again. So perhaps you have to think of something radical and then hope it works, because, the Warriors right now are just set up to win for the short term, for the long term, and really shut out the other 29 teams from having a shot at winning the championship. Talking
with Dave McMenamin, our ESPN Cavs reporter. And Dave, it doesn't get more radical, to borrow that word, than blowing up, as Willie Colon suggested, the big three here, if it is a sweep. And I'm not saying that is the case, but even Jalen Rose, and there's starting to be some whisper that maybe LeBron isn't long for Cleveland. Maybe he's the member of the big three that's the first domino to sort of move out of the way here. What more, I guess, could you say about, I don't know, not likelihood, because it seems so far-fetched, but what would that do for this franchise?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's so far-fetched. There was never a guarantee when LeBron came back to Cleveland that he was coming back here to retire. And it became quite clear when he went on the record with Howard Beck of Bleacher Report last year and spoke about the desire to one day play with Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo Anthony before his career is up, that, that destination very well might not be Cleveland to make that happen. And so that opened up the door for the possibility of him leaving. I've been on radio interviews really for over a year now and said that I don't think he's going to end his career in Cleveland. It's just a matter of when that happens. And when this summer happened and he signed a 2-year deal guaranteed +1, I looked at it as like he's definitely in Cleveland 2 more years, but after that, all bets are off. And really, what more does he owe this franchise? Now, as long as they are in a position to win, I don't think he's walking away. But if there's some drop-off next year, or, say they do trade Kevin Love or something like that, and whoever they get back, it doesn't work out, and they regress. Well, then he had a great run in Cleveland on the second stint, and then he can go to somewhere else and finish off his career, most likely in L.A., either be the Clippers or the Lakers. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is the era of free agency. This is the era of, again, LeBron believing I have nothing left to prove to the public, so I'm going to do something for myself should I choose to do so. And that could very well be the way we see the final chapter career play out.
Enjoy it tonight, Dave. I really appreciate all your help throughout the year, all right?
Of course. Thanks, guys.
Okay, there you go. Dave McMenamin, ESPN.com. I want to follow up what he just said there. He's basically saying LeBron's, the plan was never to retire in Cleveland. So let's do that next. All right? We'll play back that cut for you right here with Randy Scott, Russillo Show on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Baseball season's rolling along. Tune in tomorrow as the Red Sox host the Tigers, presented by Firestone. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNRadio.com and the ESPN app. Any update from St. Louis?
Yes.
Mizzou, where you at?
Johnny Peralta DFA'd, Colton Wong back, some coaching changes. Matheny's still safe, but the heat's on him.
Yep. Toasted raviolis, still delicious.
Still amazing.
Yep.
Wait a minute, that's a St. Louis thing? You guys claiming that?
We own it.
Well,
Toasted ravioli, that's a St. Louis thing.
You invented it?
Yes.
I feel like Italy would probably have a...
Toasted ravioli?
They don't own ovens in ravioli?
It's a St. Louis thing, dude.
In Italy? Okay.
All right, give me some literature on that.
I'll pull up some stats, okay?
I just have a hard time believing that it took raviolis to make it all the way to St. Louis before somebody said, you know what? Let's toast these let's toast them up.
There's barbecue in St. Louis, too, right? Don't you guys?
Incredible barbecue.
What else are you claiming? I think
Gooey
St. Louis.
butter cake, that's ours. Anheuser-Busch,
Have it.
we own it.
Oh, no, the Busch part's good.
I feel like Anheuser-Busch is international now.
I meant the gooey cake
It is,
thing.
but come on.
I think
Brewed in
St.
St. Louis Mo.
St. Louis is a good time.
St. Louis ranks number one in stuff they claim. That's what I'm
Says a
hearing.
guy who lived in Boston.
Ooh.
No, Boston doesn't want to claim most stuff. Boston's like, good. They don't even want to go to, I'm a traveler. All of my Boston friends, we were trying to talk about weather the other day, right? We were just all going back and forth. We were arguing all the different weather things, and the Boston guys are insufferable. And then guys are like, no, San Francisco's colder, Chicago's colder. No, it's not that cold, and on and on and on. And then one of my friends writes, the coldest winter I ever spent in San Francisco was in Boston planning trips I would never go on. Does that make any sense to you? They never go anywhere. They never go anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. So, look, you can throw the anti-Boston stuff at me as much as you want, Smallman. I'm going to agree with you on some of the stuff. All right.
Right.
So,
it's like tea?
right.
Nah.
Hey, and congrats on getting Colt Wong back in the game.
Hey, thanks. Quick Google.
Sure.
Toasted ravioli, or breaded and deep-fried ravioli, is an appetizer created and popularized in St. Louis, Missouri.
Whoa.
Right. Whoa. Well, it must be true. It was on the internet.
Cool.
Just one day, a guy sitting there holding a ravioli, and he's looking at this breaded. What could we do?
This unhealthy thing in my one hand, how can I make it less healthy for me? Deep fry it.
This isn't going to be healthy for the Cavs fans out there. They're going to hate this stuff because it's going to be all summer. I'm just telling you, Cavs fans, prepare for this. Prepare for this offseason of the fun part was, what can we do to catch the Warriors? Yeah. And it's going to be you asking me every morning on SportsCenter. I'm going to tell you, I went through it with an NBA GM the other night. We were just playing the game of, could you do this? Could you move this piece? Could you get this guy in there? And even all the fake stuff we were doing that's most likely never going to happen, we still couldn't come up with anything that's even remotely reasonable to go, yes, other than setting the video game to computer trades off. there's really not much that I think is even close to happening this offseason to help it happen. But you're starting to hear this more and more, and McMenamin even mentioned it, that if you think LeBron came back to Cleveland and retired there, that was never the plan.
There was never a guarantee when LeBron came back to Cleveland that he was coming back here to retire. And it became quite clear when he went on the record with Howard Beck of Bleacher Report last year and spoke about the desire to one day play with Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony before his career is up, that, that destination very well might not be Cleveland to make that happen. And so that opened up the door for the possibility of him leaving. I've gone on radio interviews really for over a year now and said that I don't think he's going to end his career in Cleveland. It's just a matter of when that happens. And when this summer happened and he signed a 2-year deal guaranteed plus one, I looked at it as like, he's definitely in Cleveland 2 more years, but after that, all bets are off. And really, what more does he owe this franchise? Now, as long as they are in a position to win, I don't think he's walking away. But if there's some drop-off next year, or, say they do trade Kevin Love or something like that, and whoever they get back, it doesn't work out, and they regress. Well, then he had a great run in Cleveland on the second stint, and then he can go to somewhere else and finish off his career, most likely in L.A., either be the Clippers or the Lakers. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is the era of free agency. This is the era of, again, LeBron believing I have nothing left to prove to the public, so I'm going to do something for myself should I choose to do so. And that could very well be the way we see the final chapter career play out.
What's the contract situation? Not only for LeBron but for the team. Like I feel like they're in cap hell, but I'm just saying that because they are.
They are so up against it. And now the player options can play in here a little differently, but Gilbert, and I've said this even when LeBron was there the first time around, and everybody used to say, oh, they never did anything. They did a ton for him. They never turned down money. Money was never an excuse, and you can say, well, they went after the wrong people. They were always doing those deals to flip one bad contract for the slightly better player with a worse contract to try to prove it to LeBron, and obviously that never works out. He bounces to Miami. But when he came back, he's been doing these short-term contracts, and as of now, he's 31, 32, and then $36 million, but he can opt out of that. So he could be a free agent 1 year from now in 2018.
How much is the salary cap going up?
They're way over the cap. They are
even after it goes up.
Right. After it goes up, the projections, 108. At first we thought it was going to be north of that. I know that they could be off by a few million. They usually are a little bit before the projection, but I mean it's not so far off that it's absurd. Yeah. So they're at 120, 125 million guaranteed even next year. So when you start just going, let's just sign a free agent, if you're doing that's not their approach. They're going to have to trade one, maybe two contracts if they vastly want to overhaul this thing. But I think the problem is what if we have this next year? Because it kind of feels like we're going to get right now again next year. Because who's going to challenge them in the East with LeBron?
It depends where Lowry goes. I mean, they're enough. Could Paul George go elsewhere in the East? I think if he goes anywhere, he goes out west. But there's some dust that needs to settle this summer before we can really hand it to the Cavs.
I'm sorry. I don't want to hammer you here on a Friday afternoon. You really think where Kyle Lowry goes dictates the landscape of the East next year?
I'm not ready to hand it. I see the way this series is going for the Cavs has the potential to have a hangover next season. I could see that.
Oh, I see what you're doing here.
You know what I mean?
You're doing their exhausted 8 straight finals, let down. I actually don't think that's a terrible theory, but I would still say if the Cavs are a 5 seed and healthy, because I think Boston is going to go at this with, let's not lose sight of who we really are. We're a nice story with an unlikely star that needs a lot more help to get to where we need to be. Let's not print out Final Four NBA shirts, because that's not really the neighborhood we belong in.
So you're saying that they're not a Markelle Fultz away from taking the Cavs to 7 games?
No, and I don't even know if they're another free agent in Markelle Fultz. If they added George, if they added Butler, if they added Gordon Hayward and Fultz, would that be enough to then take out LeBron? I don't think I'd be ready to do that. But I like your thought on the hangover part. I just don't know where Kyle Lowry, where if he stays with Toronto, we go, Raptors.
I do too many shows with Kevin Negandhi to where I've heard that he's going to the Sixers, that Lowry's going to the Sixers. So he was the first name that popped in my head. That's all. In terms of a big free agent, could move this offseason. But you're right. Okay, in terms of an imminent threat in the East to the Cavs, all right, fine. Let's say it's Cavs-Warriors. It's going to end the same way. Maybe it ends in 5 games. You know what I mean?
This feels like, and you've heard it. You've heard it a little bit more. I think this is one of those kind of NBA rumbling things. Be like, do not make the mistake of thinking he's retiring there. And right? And then you start doing the deal where you go, what would he do?
How would that play out,
man? How much longer does he want to wait to play with Chris Paul?
Because the thing was, all right, we're going to give these short contracts for LeBron. We're going to give him, Dan Gilbert and company, give him everything he asked for. And when we do that and it's still not enough and he leaves because it wasn't enough, whose fault is that?
Does Gilbert write another letter?
Comic Sans forever.
I guarantee you we will win a title before the Sacramento Kings do with LeBron. I bet you the Kings. That'd be a good Monday segment. Which teams could you rule out emphatically that LeBron would not go to? The Kings and Warriors.
And Suns.
Why the Suns? Have you seen Marquise, Chris?
Yeah. Booker.
Randy Scott has a great wife. Oh. And she's great at her job, and she's smart, and she happens to be attractive and on television. We had one person say that was offensive. Only one. But Freeze Pops got involved, and he was super complimentary in just a few short words. That's previously. It's next. Russillo Show, ESPN Radio. Game 4 tonight. So we're either coming back talking about, can the Cavs do the unthinkable? Do you believe in mirror Valiers?
No? No good?
No? No one gets that I'm doing that. I'm doing the Ravel thing. Ravel is scheduled to join us for an entire show in studio, by the way.
Oh.
And people are split.
When is that going to happen?
It's going to be, a Monday? It's going to be a Monday, not this Monday, a week from this Monday.
Okay.
June 19th. Put it on your calendar. Set the DVRs. Darren Ravel, my co-host. His guest list is impressive. Trump, Comey, Spicer in the first hour.
Who is he going to recreate?
Steelers.
Is he going to recreate his delay?
Randy Scott with us, Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. Reminding you, if you miss any of the show, you can subscribe to the Best of Podcast available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
Like in person, when you guys talk to him and he's on his home setup, there's always a delay. Yeah. So is he going to recreate that in person just to give it the real effect?
That's an incredible observation and a great question because that'd be kind of fun.
I think it'd be awesome.
Like, what do you think is really going to happen with the Big Baller brand?
Well, Ryan, there's a glass-encased prototype in the ball house. I asked Ravel for the story and how he got his first job. Because I reached out to him when I was in college. He's like, have any advice? Yeah.
Did he write you back?
One of my really good friends from college went to the same summer camp as him, and he was like, well,
so you had an in. It wasn't just a random solicitation.
He might have been. He wasn't here yet, I don't think. I think he was at CNBC maybe, but he was like, I sent out my first tape in a like a poster mailing tube so that they had to open it, so that they couldn't just shuffle it off to the side. That was his advice. Mailing. The mailer used. That was his advice.
Smart. I heard when you do those mail-in contests, if you can wrap your envelope in velvet. That's something when people go and grab in for the envelope.
Yeah.
Do people still do that, the sweepstakes?
Yeah. According to the commercials I see.
Or was that Shawshake? Was that in the 30s?
Maybe. Publishers Clearinghouse is still a thing.
Your wife has tweeted the show. The reason she has tweeted the show is because we were talking about her and the fact that guys are kind of surprised that she's your wife, which is offensive to you. I don't know how it's offensive to women that we did this, but I thought it was offensive to Randy, and then Freeze Pops got involved, and then maybe it did become weird.
Previously on the Ryen Russillo Show.
Freeze Pops, have you seen Randy's wife?
Yes.
I was enthusiastic.
That was the best.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, like I don't enjoy this. Is so funny. It's like you're referencing something that is not enjoyable to experience.
No.
While
having a blast doing it.
Yeah.
Freeze Pops, do you feel like it seems like you have more content?
Yeah, Freeze Pop, are you an avid watcher of
She does a good job.
NBC when you're home? Good. Yeah, she does. She's really good. She's really smart. And when we met in Fort Myers, there wasn't a ton of that among the people we hung out with. It was more like folks who were just sort of passing through and she was not one of those like if it bleeds it leads kind of people in the local market. The people who come into the newsroom are like, oh, there's a fire, I want to go cover it. And they're like, okay, well, there were no, injuries. And they're like, oh, forget it. I don't want to deal with that. Like, she's maintained her human side throughout being in journalism.
Freeze Pops, do you have any more commentary?
I enjoy her work.
What do I like less? Your reaction to what he's saying or what he's saying? I don't know.
I don't even think it's that funny. I just know Freeze Pops. I know you. Your wife's hot, and now we're talking about it.
So watching that back, I think I don't like your laughter more than anything else. Because Freeze Pop's put in a difficult spot, but you're just like, she does good work. I've seen her.
Me off.
I've seen her before.
Do you know her? Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun.
She tweeted the show, Cerruti?
What?
Well, she did. So indirectly.
How did I miss this?
Bill Hoffheimer, who's a PR guy, loves the show, tweeted, hey, Randy's pulling a double shift today, doing SportsCenter and then hosting with you, Ryan. And some random guy named Jim on Twitter said, shouldn't he be home with Shannon, NBC Boston? And she responded, not yet, ! Baby emoji, heart emoji.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, because people think when she's not at work that, she must have had the baby because she's, 50 weeks pregnant at this point. And
how many months is
she looks great.
Okay, all right, that right there. That She does, though. She does. She wears it like so well, and she's crazy uncomfortable. And it's my kid, so it's going to have a huge head. Like
I hope it's your kid.
Yeah, so it's not, I'm going to just run right through that. Like, it's just, I jump every time the phone rings. Honestly, we're in that stage now. We're far enough along. So
you're the best, man. Seriously, a lot of fun. I just hope at some point this weekend she doesn't say, you ever wonder Would it be like if our lives were different? Randy Scott, it's Russillo Show, ESPN Radio.